my gut said to me at lunchtime, I'm a bit tired, I should probably call it a day. But, you go, but then what's around the corner? I'm just going to go and see it. And if it's too tough, I'll turn around. By the time it got really tough, there was no turning around. Carried on, and then bam, motorcycling, you are constantly on guard. You're watching for all the other idiots on the road that try and kill you. The positive thing of this is that's all you do. You're right. It's almost like meditation on two wheels, isn't it? You forget about any problems that may be bothering you for that time, and you just ride, and it's beautiful.
So welcome to Just Ride. Our guest today is someone who completely reinvented her life through motorcycles, and we like that. Born in Yugoslavia, now Slovenia, Maja Kenney was always an adventurer, hitchhiking to Scandinavia at 18 and cycling from Slovenia to Barcelona at 19. We need to know about that later. She eventually moved to the UK, raised a son, built multiple businesses, and at 42 finally got her motorcycle license. What started as a passion quickly became a new life, riding across continents, creating motorcycle adventures, and now running her own motorcycle tours. Even after a serious accident at the end of 2025, she's determined to get back on the bike and get back leading tours this spring. Maja Kenney, welcome to Just Ride.
Thank you very much.
I mean, that's an opener, which you're going to be asking lots of questions tonight. But one of my first question, we connected, didn't we, on Twitter, and I'm trying to work out how long ago it was. It must have been, 10 years? Was it maybe even
Probably.
Longer?
Well, it won't. Probably not, because it's going to be 10 years this summer since I've had my motorbike license, and I think we connected when I was riding, so it must have been. Yeah. You were probably one of the first people on Twitter that I started chatting to about bikes. So I'd say 10.
I feel quite humble about that. And in fact, I'd only probably just started riding about 10 years ago anyway, to be fair. But it was one of those things, isn't it? We've always kind of connected. When we've come to Wales, we've always talked about trying to hook up and was all go riding. You show us the Wales that we probably don't know. But you have normally been...
It's my homeland. I know exactly where we're out together.
You didn't know it was Wales, like Scotty.
Except for road numbers, Scotty.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's that one then.
And every time that we've tried to come down, I've messaged and say, right, we're coming to Wales. And you're like, yeah, but I'm in somewhere in Europe. And we're like, oh.
I know.
Always missed.
We'll make it happen.
So, I mean, yeah. So thank you for coming on to the podcast tonight. And we've been really excited to hear about your journey, and it is, when we've started to look at what you've done and what you've achieved, it is pretty fantastic. So I think tonight we definitely want to delve a little bit deeper and take the viewers on that kind of journey, So
I'm really curious to learn, Maja. When Andrew opened up and he was chatting a little bit about your history there, at a very young age, you ended up like traveling Scandinavia. Where's that sense of adventure come from?
It's always been inside me. I remember my friends at school sort of, making comments of, you look like a tourist in your own country. I'm not quite sure how. I didn't understand it at the time. I think I know now, because it was always just curious about what else is out there, what's in the world. And having grown up in Yugoslavia, there was that, obviously the travel was very much restricted, although I had very... smart parents that managed to take us to Austria and Italy on regular basis on work permits in a car.
Work permits.
Yeah, well, it was a very corrupt communism at that time, and it didn't, it kind of disbanded. In 91, Slovenia became independent, and then, that's where the world opened for me, and I just couldn't wait to travel. Scandinavian trip was with a friend of mine, also called Maja. Not everybody's called Maja there. And she was telling her parents she's going to go interrailing because they wouldn't let her go otherwise. And when we went to tell my mother the same story, she said to me, well, why don't you save money and just hitchhike? Because that's what I've been doing up to that point anyway. I was hitchhiking to Croatia, to the coast. And, we'd go for days out on to the seaside and come back being at school, but actually not. She knew all that. So I said, well, we were actually going to go hitchhiking, but her parents must never find out. And I don't think they still know to this day. So that's how it happened. We packed up and officially went to the train station, but we sort of hitched a lift very quickly on, and off we went to Scandinavia.
And which countries did you visit in Scandinavia? All of them?
Yes. So we were really lucky going there. We had 2 lifts, one to middle of Germany, a town called Kessel. And then the next one was sort of randomly just lifted a finger, not even ready to hitchhike, when you kind of haven't found a spot yet. But I just turned around and went, come on, somebody stop. And this white Volvo pulls over with 3 Italians in there. Where are you going, girls? Well, somewhere north. And they said, we're going to Copenhagen. Well, actually, that's where we want to go. And so 2 days later, we were in Copenhagen drinking with these Italians. And we split there because they did their own thing. And obviously, we carried on. We went to Sweden and even took a ferry over to Helsinki in Finland. Just that was about as much as Finland as we've seen. And then across to Norway and back through Germany and Austria, back to Slovenia. So it was about a month. I think it was very much how much money have we got when we ran out, and when we were eating sardine tins from corner shops, we thought it's time to go home now. Yeah.
Wow.
And so obviously with the motorcycle adventures that you do as well, have you been back to Scandinavia on a motorbike since? Or
yeah, in 22, I took a group to Nordkapp. So we did a 3-week tour from the UK to Nordkapp and back. And then last year, slightly shorter trip up to Geiranger. Sort of, I think it was a 9-day tour. And I'm doing it again next year because it's just so incredibly beautiful. And planning it is really hard because I want to do all the roads, but you can't because there's not enough time. So I kind of keep going back to find new places and take people on different routes. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of your tours, and a lot of those pictures that you share are just like, right, guys, we've got to go. We've got to go. I think we're going to have to book a tour with you at some point in the future because I think absolutely those pictures are amazing.
Do you know what, there's becoming a theme on each week's podcast.
We're going everywhere.
And we're going everywhere. Every guest we have on, we're like, we just get jealous and we want to come and follow them. So
yeah.
But that's the whole idea.
Yeah, we do want to go to Scandinavia.
We do.
I mean, it looks absolutely spectacular. So yes, Scandinavia is definitely a must.
So Scandinavia, it's all very beautiful, but for motorbikes, Norway is the place to be. Sweden, I would skip unless you are going slightly off-road, but it's quite boring. Sorry, Swedes. I don't know about Finland, but Norway is spectacular. So if you do, we went to Nordkapp on Norway side and came back through Sweden, and it was a bit of a
letdown.
But not a disappointment, a letdown. But yeah, compare, we should have done it the other way around, and then at least you finish on a wow rather than, oh no, there's another day of a straight road in between the Christmas tree woods and nothing there to stop and nobody anywhere. So it's, very different.
And how long are your tours normally? I mean, sorry, we're going straight into tour. There's a lot of things we don't know about, like when it came to England, but how long are your tours normally over?
It depends. I mean, I'll do a short, long weekend, sort of 4 days around Wales. And then probably, the fact that we're in the UK takes a day or two to get somewhere. So then you got a week to ride. So it's normally minimum 9 days, I would say, but often much longer.
I'm just realising I haven't booked a single holiday this year, so I'm getting some ideas now.
Well, you are going to ABR.
Oh, ABR,
yeah, true.
I'll talk about ABR in a bit, but
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really interested to know, how did you get into motorcycling in the first place?
I've always wanted a motorbike. When I was a child with my sister in the back seat with mum and dad in the cars, when they were still smoking and windows open and sort of queues for miles on motorways, and all these Germans and Italians filtering through on motorbikes. And I was just look out the window feeling very jealous and just so wanting to be one of them, even though I was way too young to ride. And then my dad bought a moped for my mum. It was a Thomas 50cc.
Thomas.
You have to find Thomas. It's super cool. It's got pedals even to help you keep going when you're out of petrol.
Do you remember what colour it was?
It was silver bullet. It had posh wheels and everything. It was the whole thing. And mum sort of used it to go to work a couple of times and then hated it because it messed up her hair. This was days before helmets or any protective gear. So the moped was just sat in the garage, and I I kind of took over it. But before that happened, Mum complained about the wind, so Dad bought, the postmen have these big screens with flaps at the bottom. So he fitted one of those on, and he said to me, "Go and try it up and down the street." I thought, "There's no way I'm going to be seen riding that. I mean, street cred gone, right?" Anyway, we lived in a cul-de-sac at the bottom of the woods, and I sort of just went up and down the road. And on the way back, all I could see in this screen was a reflection of myself. And as I was coming back home, our drivers had a little bit of a lip. So I thought, okay, I'll just a little bit more gas. And then the next thing, I don't know what happened, went through the hedge and into an apple tree in a garden. So that was the end of that screen. The bike was fine. I was fine, except for I had to peel and cook all the apples to make whatever you make with them that Mother decided, because they weren't ripe yet. So that was my punishment.
Was it at that point that you were hooked or put off?
Well, it didn't stop me, because I thought, I'll take this off. I think Dad went away for a couple of days on a business trip. So I took the screen off and I just carried on using it to go to school. And I absolutely loved it. It was my main means of transport in spring, summer, and sort of until we got snow. Then I started hanging out with boys that had Vespas, and I couldn't keep up. So I kept pestering Dad for a Vespa. And he said to me that, you will never have a big bike. Obviously, many, many years later, I got it.
Which we will come on to.
Yeah, right. But that was kind of, I can't remember what happened to it. I think my parents divorced, and then the bike went for sale, and that was the end of that at that time. But yeah, it took me a while to get back into it, but the desire never left. And whilst I'm not anymore interested in bikes themselves, as in what make, what model, what all the technical spec, and it's more about riding them and adventuring than knowing all the spec. And maintenance, I'm okay. I know basic things, but if I don't have to do it myself, I much prefer not to.
But just think about your childhood there, Maja, when you're watching the Italians and the Germans go by. I think it's pretty similar for all of us, I would imagine, in our childhoods. I even at my age now, if I'm in my car and I see a motorbike coming up behind me, I've still got to wind the window down. I've still got to listen to it when it goes past me. And it's, just the smells when you used to go to race tracks and all them sorts of things, they're still really evocative and still really appealing.
It's different for me, because when I was a kid, I used to wind the window down and count the sheep. You know what I mean?
Did you not fall asleep while I was driving then?
Well, yeah. I couldn't do it when I was driving, like.
But do you know what? You've brought back a childhood memory that I'd completely forgotten about. So I remember my nan, who lived in Luton at the time, and she used to have a moped with one of those big screens on the front, and she used to keep it in her outhouse. And I remember when I must have been about 5 or 6, wanting to go and sit on this moped, and I'd completely forgotten about it until you mentioned your experience there, and I just suddenly thought, that's where my love of bikes came from. Yeah.
And you've still got that
Brilliant.
in the shed.
Yeah.
You can ride that one, Maja, but not his Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Oh, $1.
But that was probably much more convenient to go to the shop with than a Kawasaki, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
So you started off on a moped. So how did you progress to where you are now and what you're riding now?
I mean, I was 42 and I had a client who was setting up a motorcycle workshop and was building bikes, and said to me, "Why don't you go and get yourself a license and I'll build you the bike?" So my son at the time was 16 or 17, and we had a chat to say, do you mind? He's the sensible one anyway, so he kind of went, "Yeah, well, of course you're fine. I'm old enough to make my own lunch," and obviously his dad is around, so it's not as if he would be left on his own. But I thought it'd be good to ask him that, his mother's doing another reckless thing. Fine, go for it. So that's what happened. The bike was the donor bike was SV650 Suzuki, but it was made to look almost like a Ducati Monster. However, it was very I'll send you the pictures. You can see it. It had a beautiful white tank, but it had brown seat and brown handlebars, and it's all black frame. So it looked really smart, whether you like brown seats or not. But, however, it was a pig to ride, and I didn't know because it was my first bike. So I rode that for about 2 years. But my favorite bike, I mean, the brand was always Ducati. So growing up next door to Italy, I love most things Italian. And Ducati was always the one that I wanted, one day I will have a Ducati. So when I had my license for 2 years, I could go and test ride a bike at the dealers, because before they wouldn't let you. So I went to Manchester and took out a Super Sport. And I took it out for a ride, and then when I came back, I couldn't get my helmet off. I was grinning so much. I was like, "Oh, wait, that's fine. I need one of them." And so I bought the Super Sport S in white with red wheels. Absolutely stunning bike, and that one had a name. I called her Bella, because in Italian Bella is beautiful, and in Slovene Bela is white, color white. So it kind of worked.
Yeah.
And Bella was sort of the start of my new life, to be honest. I decided to go to Slovenia for my first big trip, and took 3 weeks. And I don't like going down the same road twice, so I did a circular route. And that was very, very exciting and very scary, because obviously once I was out of the UK, you think, oh my God, I've done it. I'm in Europe. I'm riding a bike. I'm on my own. Like, it was just amazing. So I rode that. Part of my trip was to go see Dad and tell him, haha, you said I'll never have a big bike. Ta-da!
And how did he respond?
Well, unfortunately, he was in a care home by that point with dementia, so he didn't know I was there anyway. He never saw the bike, but the sentiment was there, and at least I got to see him. But I had an incredible journey, and lots of exciting things, lots of sad things, like seeing my dad like that, and my son, whose dad moved to Australia a few years before that, decided to go and visit. Well, he's gone there for a few times on holiday, and that time he decided to call me and go, well, I bought flight to come back in September, but I'm going to stay here for a bit longer. And 7 years later, he's still there. So that was an emotional moment as well. So the whole trip was just fueled with different emotions, but all held in very good, great memories. That was my first solo trip. Yeah.
So I mean, how did you sort of go from doing your that solo trip to thinking, I'm going to set up a tour company?
That was a bit of a accident, really. Well, that was an accident, but when we had our first lockdown during COVID, everybody was at home for the first 3 weeks, and in that time, I lived on my own, and I had, well, obviously a lot of time to think, and I thought this is a great opportunity to just review where I'm at in my life, what am I doing what I love, and what the future holds. And the honest truth was that the business I had, my heart wasn't in it anymore. I wasn't doing what I set it up for. I was mostly managing people that worked for me, and I thought, I don't like it. What else can I do? And so somebody said to me, use the Venn diagram. I had no idea what that was, but it's like all the circles, they interlock and crossover. But it was a very basic. So I kind of went, right, what do I love? Travel, motorcycles, and people. And if you mix them all together, what comes out? Oh, how about if I do motorcycle tours? Now, the reason this there popped in was because on Twitter, a lot of people were asking me, where do you go and ride in North Wales? And more often than not, I would say, I'll meet you and I'll show you. And so I was kind of already doing the guiding, if you like. And they were very patient, because I was very slow at that time. I was still fairly new to motorcycling. But I thought, okay, well, let's see what happens. And I sort of advertised to say a day out, because everything was closed. So it was a case of, we'll meet in the car park, bring your own sandwiches, bring your own drinks. We'll ride together for a day, and then you go home. And they turn up, they paid money, had a great day. And then as the world opened up, I thought, we'll do a weekend of it. And then the next thing, one of the groups said, oh, you're from Slovenia, why don't you take us there? So that was my first international trip. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. So,
that's what I was going to ask, because I remember seeing you doing that, and you were obviously from Twitter, you were mentioning where you were going, and I saw that whole thing start to build. And then suddenly you went from like couple of people coming out with you and going around Wales, which we kept saying, we're going to go to Wales, we're going to go to Wales, we kept missing you. And then suddenly it seemed like overnight you were then in Europe and taking big groups. And it was like, how did that happen so quick that you had the confidence to go, right, guys, we're going to go and do, a trip like that into Europe? Because that for me was like, kind of blew me away. I was like, right, you've done that, and now suddenly you're in Europe with taking people. How did that kind of work?
It was down to one group in particular, because the guys, so they came to Wales. There was 8 of them, which I thought, whoa, that's a big group for one person. Look, I still don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even know how to ride yet, but okay. And then they said, well, take us to Slovenia. So we did a flying ride. So we hired bikes and took them around for 5 days, and it all went well, and they had a great time. Next thing they said, we want to go to Nordkapp. So that, I said, I haven't been there. They go, we don't mind. We know how you ride tours. We know how you run tours. We know hotels you pick. We know the research you do. We're cool with that. And they kind of helped me, gave me the confidence to then go, well, yeah, I don't need to ride every mile of the road where I take people on these adventures, because otherwise it's not really an adventure. So it gave me the confidence to then build other itineraries, even though I haven't been all everywhere. But so far, I'm at the point now where I go, I know these roads in Spain and Portugal and Slovenia and all of them. I'm not scared to do that anymore. But as always, you need to grow and be pushed. So last year, that same group went, we want to go to Utah. So off you go and sort that out.
Wow.
So we had 2 incredible weeks in the States. Sort of did the 5 states. So flew into Vegas, hired bikes, and we did a clockwise sort of route up to, well, it's obviously Moab and Pikes Peak, and down through New Mexico and Arizona and back home. So
that must be a lot of research that you do before that, in terms of all the planning and where you're going to stay. Because if you're going to do this, you're going to do it properly. You're gonna obviously have that experience now and that confidence behind you. But the States, I wouldn't know where to start.
It takes hours and hours and hours of research, planning, putting it all together. And with my experience so far, I'm very confident that I am good at deciding how long the days should be without being too much or too short. Well, that's experience, isn't it? You kind of get the idea of where you're going, how long you can ride for, and what the roads are like.
It is interesting because every year there's a bunch of guys. Gareth Bright, who used to work for Triumph, would come up for the Scarborough Cup into Scarborough. Obviously, it was in September every year. And 1 year there must have been, 15, 18?
About 15, 18 riders.
Because we knew the roads up here. We used to take them on a ride on a Saturday. And actually, when you start to manage lots of people, although it wasn't a proper... it wasn't a proper ride in that sense. Ride. Like, we're going to go this way if you fancy following us. But when you start to have like a big group, it is pretty daunting, isn't it? Because, how tired are they going to get? What's their capability? How often do they need a lube break? And what bikes are they riding? And how much fuel they're going to... It is a bit of a minefield. And we did experience that. And we loved it because we were taking people... on the roads,
you feel responsible, don't you?
You do feel responsible. Do you get that? How do you kind of manage that fatigue, that like watching what everyone's doing? Do you use comms? How does that all work?
So I won't take more than 8 bikes, so 9 maybe, but it's usually 7 plus me is the biggest group. So I keep it small on purpose so that everybody gets to know each other if they don't know each other, and we can be agile, and we can, if you come at last minute for lunch somewhere, it's not too big a number of people to feed and find a table for. When I have tours with people I haven't met before, that's the most stressful one. Because obviously I don't know their riding, I don't know their personalities, even though I will have a phone call with everybody before we go and have a good conversation. And what they ride in skill is you still have been riding for 40 years, but they won't break a speed limit, or they're not going to go even close to it. And then the whole group is held back because of that one person. And we had occasions where somebody just won't stop talking, and you think, let somebody else a word in, and so it's managing personalities. It's
We have no
idea what you're
looking at me, Mike. I don't know why they're looking at you. That's why I'm being quiet now. Carry on.
There's a lot that goes on in my head on tour. So whilst I'm riding, I'm navigating, I'm watching what's happening behind me. I'm looking for places to stop because, again, with all the hours of research, I'm pretty certain and know where these stops will be, but it depends on the group. So if we set up earlier or we're running late, then that stop that I planned for lunch might not be suitable anymore, which means I have to find on the go somewhere else to stop. So I couldn't have comms going on at the same time, because I can't multitask, although that is a multitask, I suppose, in itself. So there's an awful lot. Yeah, it's exhausting, but also I love it, and it's just something that before I go to sleep at night, I'll look for the route in the morning. I'll make plan where we stop again, and then over again. Now, when I come home, I purposefully build a week of doing absolutely nothing because I'll come home and crash out for 2-3 days.
Not surprised. I'm worn out just listening to what you have to do.
But yeah, I mean, people are, I've touch wood, never had a problem with personalities, never, or an awkward customer. We're all bikers. We all just want to go and have a fun tour. Everybody, there are times maybe I will say if somebody is itching to get faster and I know the road, I'll go, right, go and have fun and wait at the junction or wait at this cafe. It doesn't mean that they have to follow me the whole time. I don't wear a high vis. I don't have a clipboard. It's like going out with friends. So if somebody wants to go ahead, no problem. Everybody gets a GPX file, which means if you've had too many drinks the night before, you can have a longer sleep and you can catch up with us on your own. That's absolutely fine. If we stop at a place that is fabulous and you want to spend more time there, well, just as long as I know, no problem. We'll see you tonight at the hotel. You know where you're going. So it's very relaxed. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I keep getting returning customers so much. Because it's quite chilled.
Something right then.
Well, I take that as a compliment. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm absolutely delighted,
Have you ever thought about taking maybe a middle-aged gentleman from the northeast of England as part of your working team? I'm more than happy to volunteer myself. Because you mentioned Pikes Peak in there, and as soon as you said Pikes Peak, I got all, Pikes Peak. I mean, that's where they do the big hill climb, isn't it, Pikes Peak?
Do. That's right, yeah.
It's just absolutely, when you watch that on TV and you see them, the cars and stuff going up Pikes Peak, you just think, oh, wow, and it's got this big observation point at the top because it's quite high, isn't it? Yeah. Hence Pikes Peak.
Well, I mean, it's over 4,000 meters tall. And it's scary and so windy. And you think they're going up here at crazy speeds. I mean, how more people don't fall off that mountain, I don't know. We had one of the guys we met there. He was actually on a push bike. He was cycling it and he got thrown off his push bike because of the wind. So he had his feet clipped in, obviously, just fell over. He said it was so windy. We got there. I think I was on top for 20 minutes and one of my customers looked at me and he goes, Maja, your lips and your chin are all blue. I went, oh, okay. I know, I'm fine. I'm sure it's, obviously the oxygen is very thin up there. I went to my bike and looked at the phone and I could not remember my PIN number to unlock it. And I did it 3 times and it wasn't working. And I thought, okay, I'm not thinking straight. Let's just go on a bike and drop the altitude as quick as I can. And once I got to about 2,000, I stopped and I started breathing differently and everything was fine again. Wow. But I have never experienced that altitude before. So there was no way of knowing whether I would be okay or not. But yeah, apparently I wasn't.
Sounds like it's going up hot side.
You normally know how high we are because he's always our height check. I don't quite know how high Hartside is, but it's not 4,000.
It's not 4,000.
It's not that high. Well, speaking of heights, actually, funnily enough, when I was away last summer with my friend Lara, so we did 8 weeks TET route from the UK to Greece, and I said, I'm happy in the mountains. I have, just kind of blurted out. I said, when we're over 1,500 meters, I become the different person. And every time I was starting to sing in my helmet or dancing on the bike, and Lara would go, "Yeah, we just got over 1,500 meters." So it was true. Something just changes inside me, and I'm like, "Yep, that's it. That's my happy place."
Did you meet Lara on Twitter? Because I remember connecting with Lara
did.
on Twitter. But yeah, because wasn't she? I mean, I don't want to take this away from you, but wasn't she doing track days and was she like an influence at the time? Because I remember seeing a lot of what she was doing. How did you guys actually meet?
Somebody commented on each other on my tweet and on her, saying, "Oh, you girls have the same bikes." She had Super Sport S in white as well, and she was doing lots of YouTubing at the time. She was racing. I can't tell you where because I
can't remember.
Sorry, Lara. She was a big racer. And she's just an incredible woman. She's an army reservist. She's an engineer. So, like Scotty, she would fettle with bikes to death, and I just went, "Oh, I'm going to sleep now. See you in the morning." Or I'll be there with my wine, going, "Yeah, whatever." Well, because. Sorry, I'm diverting here, but this trip was perfect because we're such different personalities, and yet it worked perfectly well as a team. I was doing the routes, where are we stopping, what we're doing. She would go, what country we're in, no idea, and she would talk to me about bikes and what she did to them, and I went, "It's a bike, I'll ride it. That's it." So it was quite interesting dynamics.
Yeah, there's a picture you shared recently where you're both wearing dresses next to your bikes. What was that all about?
Oh, so that was part of the TED trip. So we packed our bikes and set off, and 8 weeks later we arrived in Greece, and it was 90% of the route was on the TED, the Trans-European Trail, which a lot of it is off-road. A lot of it is quite challenging. But we camped for 2-3 nights and then booked ourselves into a chateau or somewhere very nice and comfortable, to have a good wash and a nice dinner, and that picture was outside one of the French chateaus. So we were obviously dressed for dinner, and then we thought, I'll just go and pose next to the bikes. They were still quite clean at that point. It wasn't too bad, but we thought it was a nice sort of juxtaposition of, and also showing, well, look, yes, we're women and we can, be on bikes and dirty and do all these things, water crossings and falling off mountains. But then we also dress up and like wearing dresses and let our hair loose and stuff like that. So that's what that picture was about.
Can I ask a little bit about that adventure? So, would you class that as being for an experienced rider, off-road rider, or could a novice do that?
Depends on the country. I probably not a complete novice. I would say a bit of experience would definitely help. Well, the further south you go, the more tricky it becomes. So, like Montenegro was a huge surprise in so many ways. Firstly, how incredibly beautiful the country is. The experiences we had there, but the routes were one of the most difficult ones. So definitely not a novice there. But France is mostly sort of field crossings, bit of ruts, some couple of tricky bits, but nothing too much. Italy is a mix, but quite easy because there's a lot of what they call white roads, which is just gravel roads up in the mountains. Slovenia is dead easy. And like Croatia and Bosnia, then it gets harder and harder. So I wouldn't go as a complete novice.
Sounds fun though. Definitely sounds fun.
It does. Yeah. I think we're all road riders. We've always ridden on the road, but we're so desperately wanting to give it a go, aren't we? We are. It's the more people that we've spoken to in recent weeks and months, they all speak about the freedom of it, the excitement of it, and it's not about blasting to get somewhere from A to B as quickly as possible. It is about being there and being in it,
the adventure,
and the adventure. And it really sounds really appealing. You could have 5 people that sat here as customers very, very shortly, because it's something we'd really want to give it a go.
Well, I think Maja, we are going to have to come on one of your tours. Absolutely, it's just where.
Hey.
I'm thinking.
Where do you want to go?
I mean, one thing we haven't discussed is obviously, you're doing these adventures. I mean, what bike are you actually riding now? What bike are you doing these adventures on?
So for road tours, I use Africa Twin Adventure Sport. And then I have KTM 890 Adventure that I use for trail riding.
Nice.
Nice bikes, very nice bikes.
Yeah, the 890 was sort of after I sold. Well, no, I didn't sell Ducati. I kept that, but I bought the 890, and I thought, well, that could be a tour bike, and I used that for a bit. And then I can't remember what happened. I got Africa Twin lent from Honda to do a tour of Ireland, and it was a DCT. And I came back and found them, and I said, "How much? I'm keeping it." And
Did you put loads of miles on it though?
no, not at all. It was literally no. It was actually really lucky. It was really I was really lucky because I think I was the first one to ride it, and I put about 500 miles on it, and then I got it back exactly the same. So nobody else had rode it, which is really cool.
Can I ask
but
you,
yeah.
Can I ask you another question about the tours? So when I'm thinking about you mentioned earlier on about flying in and hiring bikes, and I'm thinking, do you take kit with you to ride in, or you're hiring the kit to ride in as well at the same time? Whatever that may be, helmets, jackets, boots, everything. Are people expected to take it with them?
Most people will take their own kit. Probably most hire companies will offer kit to hire, but you want to ride in your own gear. It's personal, isn't it? You want to, your own helmet. I don't know. They clean them. I know they're fine, and I have used them in the past, but it's just something about the gear that is yours, and you want to wear that. So we'll end up flying with big cases to throw everything in. Helmets, usually I take it always on a plane with me as hand luggage and just put it in an overhead locker. Everything else gets in a case, or I have in the past, not here in Australia, I have flown in boots because it was like the biggest, heaviest, bulkiest thing. Just wear it.
Because Maja, that's one of the things that obviously people don't really understand is when they do these tours. Like when we go to Wales, I literally take the kitchen sink because I've normally got cameras, drones, and everything. So the biggest thing would be like what equipment you take, or you like bare minimum. You have like one set of clothes and your bike clothes. How do you do it?
I used to be an absolute expert in traveling light. So when I did a 3-week tour on my Ducati, I had a 30-litre Krieger bag, and that had everything in there. Then as I've gotten bigger bikes with panniers, I've gotten lazy, so I just throw things in. But then I regret it because the bike is too heavy. So I have now I'm somewhere halfway. I will take minimal gear with me. Obviously all the biking gear and some cameras and bits like that. But when it comes to clothing, I tend to buy things that are merino wool, because they don't. You can wear the same thing a couple of times in one smell. They dry really quick. They don't crease, things like that. So it's the material is more important than what I wear, and it will be for a week. I don't know, 2-3 t-shirts, a pair of trousers, or a dress, and like really light shoes that weigh nothing. So everything, especially after the TED trip, everything's been weighed. Everything was like, how little luggage, how light stuff can we take with us? And in the evening, you're tired, you just want to chill with the guys you've been riding with, you're having something nice to eat. We never go to any fancy restaurants where you'd feel out of place in jeans and a t-shirt. So you don't go there for the fashion show. So we take as little as possible. Yeah.
So the evening times for us, we normally when we get back from a ride, we're absolutely buzzing, and it takes about 4 to 5 hours for us to come down, because there's normally a hot tub involved and lots of beer.
Well, I normally just go to sleep, don't I?
But it is that buzz, isn't it? I can imagine from what you're saying there that that feeling of taking people on. You know what you're about to experience in that kind of the scenery. I mean, I'll ask you about what is your favourite kind of scenery, but there's nothing better, I think, from when we've done it years ago with the guys, is that you get to a fuel station, they're like, that was incredible, absolutely brilliant. And it is. it is a personal kind of, you think, yeah, and we looked after everybody, and there is a unique thing about that, isn't it? That there is that, but you get that buzz like every time, and there's a bits where you feel a bit like, wish I could have done that differently. I mean, I suppose you're going to get elements like that.
Definitely buzz, but also I think people underestimate how tiring it is to ride for 5, 7, 10 days in a row. If there's a tour that's over 10 days, I will always build a rest day in there. So normally I get, we don't need a rest day. But by the time we get there, everybody goes, I'm so glad we're having a day off. Because it is, motorcycling, you are constantly on guard. You're watching for all the other idiots on the road that try and kill you. It's like less so in Europe than in the UK. All the other hazards that, are constantly there. And so the positive thing of this is that's all you do. You ride. It's almost like meditation on two wheels, isn't it? You forget about any problems that may be bothering you for that time, and you just ride, and it's beautiful. But doing it for 6, 7 days and in another country, so you're constantly out of your comfort zone because you don't know the language, you don't know the foods that you're buying. You're sort of trying to pick something that looks familiar to eat. Road driving habits are different, and it is really exhausting. As much as it is exciting and fun, by the time by day 4 or 5, you can start to see that people are going to bed a bit earlier and going back. But then there's a kind of does that, but then all of a sudden it's almost like the second win, and you get used to it. You become bike fit fairly quickly, and then the rest of the tour is just on a high for the whole time.
So when people are going to come on one of your tours, do you ask them about the kind of experience, and have they done long tours before? You must have some kind of a vetting. Otherwise, if you've got someone who's not done a tour before, somebody has, it's kind of is it like a management of that expectation as well? Is it do you normally get people who have done that kind of a tour, or how do you plan around that sort of inexperience? And
it's typically the first day I'll spend is just watching them all, how they ride. And then I'll have a chat with the slowest one or the least experienced one. I'll ask them to ride right behind me because they're the most vulnerable one, I guess. And we need to go at that pace. And so in the past, I've had guys that I was saying, watch my lines. And I did link up with them on the comms to guide them through how to ride and how to behave in certain situations. And after a week, their riding has improved. They've gone faster, more confident. And they love the fact that they learned other things as well, not just being on a tour. If it's not happened so far that would have been an issue, but I would have said to the others, guys, if you want to go faster, somebody can take the lead. I'll see you at a junction or at the cafe and I'll take the slower one with me. But that's not really happened. So it's an interesting job, I suppose, because something always goes wrong. It's not a case of what happens if something goes wrong. It's what happens when things go wrong. Now, one of my businesses previously was building exhibition stands. So that's the case of when things go wrong, because something always happens. And so, I've learned to be very resourceful, to think on my feet. And it seems to be that's in me. And I can't tell you how I will mitigate the problem, but I am fairly confident that when it happens, I'll sort it. But that's just me. Yeah.
So obviously when you're on these tours, I know you're talking about comms and that. So what tech do you take with you to make your life easier?
Very little, really. I use phone for navigation. So I have an Android and I have an iPhone. Yeah. So and I use different apps on both of them, because when one fails, the other one is still running. The Africa Twin has an in-off screen, so that mirrors Bluetooth, one phone, and the other one is on quad lock. And so between two different apps and two different phones, I'm never left stranded or hanging. Like, no, there's no signal, we need to wait, so I know which turn we've taken. It would look a bit unprofessional. That's about it for navigation. I do have comms, but that depends I don't tend to use them for talking. If I go on a tour that somebody wants to help and they're in the back, then we'll link up and we can have a chat. We're stopping here and tell them what's happening at the front. Very rarely. And then a couple of cameras, but that's really just one of those things that you record hours and never do anything with it. So I don't really, I don't let it interfere too much. Yeah.
So when you do the tours and you're off road, what do you? Is it the same kit you use, technology you use then on the off road, or do you have anything that's just specifically for off road?
It's the same tech. It's just different apps. Because some of the apps I use for road riding won't do off-road routes, so you can't do the same thing. For example, I love Kalimoto. It's so easy to use for road riding, but it crashes a lot and it doesn't need signal all the time. But for off-road, something like Osmand is my favorite, or a DMD. Between the two of those, it depends. Apart from the phones are the same, my iPhone is more precious, so for off-road I'll put that in my pocket and the Android will be on a handlebar, so if that smashes I'm not going to be too upset.
So what if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have no signal, because obviously a lot of them work off data? Do you have any tech that can back you up with your data signal?
So for navigation, all the apps I use off-road, you download the maps and they'll work with no signal, fine. But I do use a Garmin InReach when I go off-road. So you got a little,
Excellent.
In fact, it's here, that little thing, which is, it's expensive. So, I kind of pay for it when I need it and then cancel it, and or you put it to sleep or whatever. But that's an emergency SOS button, so it'll connect you to a central room in Austria, I think, and they'll send help. But at the same time, you can send text messages to people through it. So, for example, when we were in Bosnia, we ended up staying in some log cabin in the middle of the woods with a bunch of Bosnians and we had no signal. So we both had to report home that we're actually okay. Nothing's, we haven't died or the bears have eaten us. And that was fantastic because I just, you just send text messages saying all is good, no signal, speak to you whenever. But at least people at home know that you're safe. And I think it's a really good piece of kit.
And some of them now you can send pictures as well. I know that because I've been speaking to Garmin yesterday, but I know through Iridium we're hoping to do some stuff with Garmin, but it's interesting because looking at when you're in those places where there's nothing, it's really about how do you plan for if something does go wrong. Which obviously if you've got the InReach, great, but if something goes wrong, but you can't get your hands on your InReach, it's kind of one of the fears that we have when we're out and about in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So obviously, it sounds like you're using different apps and different bits of tech there. So would the ideal solution for you to be something which sort of just did it all in one, as it were?
Yes, absolutely. I think that would make life easier and carrying two phones and things like that.
So obviously when you're off-roading and you're in the middle of nowhere and you have issues with your bikes, obviously you will have minimal tools and that to actually fix things. So what's your support and your backup plan, or if you need help?
Well, travel with Lara, I guess, because she's got all the tools on her bike.
Lara with you.
Correct answer.
Yeah. Can we hire Lara for when we're going out first?
You should.
Yeah, we'll stop it for Scotty.
I can fix bikes.
We'd rather Lara come with us.
The interesting thing is I do carry some tools, obviously, but when you're in a group, everybody carries some tools. So at the end, you end up with a pile of things, and then everybody helps, and you go, well, I know how to do this. I know. So whilst we had a couple of breakdowns, and it was resolved dead quick, no problem, back on the road. If I was left to my own devices, I would probably get quite resourceful, and I would probably remember all the things I don't care about bike maintenance and have a good go at fixing it. But luckily I've not had. Well, I've had. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in because my rental bike in America was quite dangerous actually, and my chain came off twice on a gravel road. It was so worn that when you hold it straight, it just went down like that. It was horrible. And that would have been a problem if I was on my own. Yeah,
So the
because you
sprockets
couldn't
and all
fix
that
it.
would have been, that
been-
means the sprockets were all hooked and everything
Yeah.
else. So obviously whoever you bought or hired it off didn't maintain their bikes then.
No,
That's
they
very
didn't.
dangerous.
Yeah.
What sort of bike was it?
KLM 650 Kawasaki.
Oh, right.
Yeah, wow.
The bike was, I was quite impressed with the bike, but it wasn't maintained well, and my rear wheel locked up twice and sort of.
They're very good bikes.
Don't you dare say you wouldn't get that with a shaft.
Well,
I knew what I was thinking. I knew what I was thinking.
I mean, I'll just get on it and go.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I'm the worst because if there's any maintenance, I know where to take it straight to BMW.
Or Scotty,
dealership.
We got a Scotty Motors.
Yeah.
We all live quite local to each other, so we just go to Scotty Motors. And normally his wife makes us a cup of tea while Scott sorts our bikes out, which is fabulous.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Amazing. You're a bit too far for me, I think, to come for a cup of tea. Bike maintenance.
Exception and come down on the bike.
So obviously, there's always risks, isn't there, when you're out riding, and whether it's maintenance, whether it's getting lost or anything like that. But I think the one risk that everybody worries about is having an off or an accident. And is that anything you've experienced yourself, or?
Yes.
Apart from the one that I'm still recovering from.
Before that one, have you ever had an off before the one in December?
No, not anything with injuries. Obviously, when you're off-roading, you're off your bike a lot. But everybody laughs at me because I do it very elegantly. When the bike starts falling, I step off like a lady. I'm like, no thanks. Except on that occasion. I
was just going to ask you about talk us through what happened back in December. Because obviously, you've been talking about this a lot online. But do you want to, if you're happy to talk us through what happened, what led up to that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a TRF route, big bike friendly off roading. Don't know if you're familiar with Boulder Lane in North Wales. It is what it says on a tin. It's horrible, and it's not big bike friendly for somebody of my skill. And my gut said to me at lunchtime, I'm a bit tired. I should probably call it a day. But, you go, but then what's around the corner? I'm just going to go and see it. And if it's too tough, I'll turn around. By the time it got really tough, there was no turning around because that route was only doable on a big bike downhill. There's no way. Well, I could never get my KTM up that hill with all the boulders. And it was probably, 200 meters from the end of that. And then there was tarmac and go home. There's two of us at the end. By the half, he went down the boulder side, and he's a tall guy with long legs on a GSF 900. And he was being bounced everywhere. I thought, there's no way I'm doing this because I don't have long legs. That's my biggest problem off-road. I don't have enough of legs to stop or lean on things that you can bounce off. I just fall over. So I thought, I'm not going to go down the lane. I'm going to go over the edge. And it was just sort of a woodland steep hill that didn't look too scary. And I was going very, very slow. And he was waiting for me at the bottom. And I got to him and he's like, oh, high five. You did this really well, sort of all that. And I said, right, I'll see you by your bike, and carried on. And then bam. And what I remember was hitting something. And then looking back on it, must have squeezed the front brake, which I know you never touch when you're doing these things, but must have been a sort of a reaction inadvertently. I grabbed the brake, and obviously the next thing I was rolling down the hill. I heard a crack and kind of stopped, and he ran over, and I went, don't touch me. It's like, let me figure out what's happened, what's wrong with it. So please pick up my bike and take it down, and I'll be okay. So I got up and very soon realized that my right leg is very, very sore, and I knew it was broken. I did a first aid course and overland motorcycle guide course in November, which was really lucky because I was able to go through in my head the process of first aid. I didn't plan on using it this soon, and certainly not on myself. but it kept me calm because I could do all the checks, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. I feel like this. That's all good. Okay, leg. There's something wrong with my leg. We're not going to use it. Tried to hobble down, wasn't working. Found a stick that was kind of like a crutch. Got down a few more steps, didn't work. And there was a house, and said to my other half, please go and knock on a door and see if somebody's there. They can help us. And I was going through scenarios like, I know I have a tarp in my toolbox, so I can slide down the hill on it, or all these things. And what happened was actually this random man started walking towards it, and he said, oh, I hear you need help. I'm like, fantastic. Wherever you came from, doesn't matter. Thank you. So I had two men trying to get down a hill. It's like, no, it's too sore. I can't do it. Now my arms are sore. He said, I've got a sack truck in the back of my van. Do you mind, should we try that? I thought, well, I'm willing to try it, So he had a big box with wheels in that he couldn't deliver. Turns out he was a delivery man, a DPD guy. Knocked on the house, said, do you know where this address is? The girls that were there saying, we don't, but hey, while you're here, can you help this lady come down from the hill because she's hurt herself?
Yeah.
And so he put me on a sack truck sitting on this box, and they wheeled me down. It was a sort of Airbnb house, so the people that were staying there took me in, whilst my other half rode home, got showered, came back in the car to take me to A&E, and that was quicker than calling an ambulance or anything else, to be honest. So anyway, that was a bit of a long story, but it was quite entertaining at the time, and I managed to laugh through it. Unfortunately, I broke a tibial plateau, and it's of level 5 out of 6. So I've done a proper job. I had 3 weeks in the hospital, 2 surgeries, and we're nearly 2 months since the last surgery, and I'm in recovering and rehab because I can't bend my knee. And on Friday I sat on my KTM and I couldn't reach the peg, so that got me very upset. And I've got 5 weeks to get bike fit, basically. So
is that when your next tour is?
Yeah.
5 weeks. Wow.
Yeah.
But it gives you motivation because you know what you want to do, and you know that you have this timeline you need to keep to.
Yeah.
So the motivation that there is to get healthy and get all the rehab done so that you can get back on a bike.
Yeah, so I had a physio appointment today, and so I need to work on strengthening my leg and bending my knee, and there was no progress since last week. And she could see me getting teary, and she said, "But you reach a plateau that it's like going to the gym. You start off, and the muscles are showing and everything else, and then all of a sudden it all stops for a couple of weeks, which is where I'm at now, I suppose." She said, "But you can see the muscles are building up in your quads, and you're just becoming stronger." So she said, "You don't need the brace anymore. You can now walk without it," which is a huge progress. But obviously I was looking at the measurements of knee bend and knee extension, not banking on the fact that maybe that's at a plateau because the muscles are building up. And it's constantly having to reframe my thinking and taking each day as it comes. And because as soon as I start sort of looking forwards and going, oh, what if I don't make it? I panic, and it's not a good place to be. So I just go, right, today's been a good day, small wins, and I'll get there.
So to help you and support you when you do get back on the bike in 5 weeks' time, are you using twin pegs on your bike? Is that what you're using on there to help you, particularly if you're standing up on the pegs?
I do have twin pegs on the KTM, yes, not on Africa Twin, because that's a road bike, so I don't stand up so much. But I do use twin pegs on the KTM, and I think they're brilliant. I think that's one of the underrated pieces of kit that the world doesn't know about yet.
I don't know about them.
It's something I stumbled across the other day. So it is, as it says, it's a twin peg.
Right.
So instead of having your single peg and obviously your gear and your brake pedal, you've got 2 pegs, so you can stand up instead of it just being on the ball of your foot.
Right.
You can put your heel down as well. So
you're basically standing on your bike as if you're standing on solid ground with flat foot. So after a day of off-roading, everybody will go, oh, my calves. You have twin pegs. You're like, nah, don't feel them. Absolutely fine. No fatigue. So you will be standing and riding for longer because you're not going to get that pain and the fatigue.
I think they're a Norwegian company.
They are Norwegian, yeah. They will be at the ABR. and the inventor is there, and he fits them himself. He's you know, great guy, a bit quirky, but you know, really interesting. And he fitted them on my bike. They sponsored us for the TED trip as well, so the CRFs had twin pegs on them. And I think it's one of those things. Once you try it, you think, why wouldn't you? You know?
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that we were going to ask about the off, obviously, was, did it make you question riding again? I mean, clearly you've got a tour lined up, but did you kind of think, oh, do I really want to do this again? No. I thought that
absolutely not.
And that
absolutely not.
And that motivation to get back on the bike, because obviously I've seen that you've had this recovery, and it looks like it's been quite a painful recovery. But what give you that motivation to go, you know what? No, I'm getting back on the bike. I'm going to do this. Where did that come from?
I think it's just it's me being curious and adventurous, and you know, I still, you know, I'm going, well, there's so much of the world I haven't seen. I want to do different trips. I mean, I'm going to go to Australia again this year to see my son, and then I want to do New Zealand in January for 3 weeks, or however long I want to, really. And when I'm there, I don't want to just stick to the road, because now I know what fun off-roading is. So it's I've got to go back. That's what else am I going to do?
Now you've got the twin pegs as well.
Well, I don't think I'll have them when I'm there, because I'm not shipping my bike. But
what are you doing in June again? I think we kind of touched on that early in the talk. But where are you going in June?
In June,
I'm going.
I'm going.
Will the gent from Norway be there as well?
Oh, at the ABR, you mean?
Oh, that's what I was trying to lead.
There's a very subtle hint there. Subtle hint.
Do I have to give you any more?
Well, I thought maybe. Well, you know, I am also going to do a tour of the Vosges National Park in June, and a few other things. So you know, it's never just the one thing for me.
Sorry, come on.
She's got a busier June than we have.
You have. Tell us about what you're going to be doing at ABR this year, then.
At ABR, so Lara and I have been given the opportunity to run a masterclass on how to adventure, I guess, how to get ready for that kind of adventure, what entails, how we did it, how much money we spent on it, and all this kind of details. Potentially there'll be another talk at the Travelers tent, but they haven't been confirmed yet, but we're definitely doing a masterclass.
So I think we might all be attending.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Come and see us there, yeah, for sure. That'd be great.
No, definitely looking forward to meeting Lara, because as I said, seeing you guys and everything that she was doing on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter or X anymore, but it was quite amazing to see what you guys were doing. And I think with being an engineer and being the RAF guy, I think you guys will get on famously.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You mentioned you've got some other tours. What do you want to kind of? Are all those tours full, or is there spaces left on your tours?
I have spaces left on the tour of Ireland in May, and I've got a couple of places still in Wales in July. Everything else is either private tour or sold out. So that's.
I've got a free week in July. I think I might.
There
Where
you go.
would you take 5 novices?
I thought you were going to say something else then.
well, I mean, is it off road? And I would take it to Portugal.
Yes, off-road. Yeah.
So I have got a tour in Portugal. You know, the ACT tracks, the Adventure Country Trail.
No.
Oh, okay. So ACT is the fairly new thing. I think it's kind of following from the American BDR, are they? Back road trails or something like that. So the ACT is Adventure Country Tracks, and it's done by what are the guys called? Tech. Oh, I can't remember now. Touratech guys. Yeah. There you go. So they're doing it. So I think there's one in UK, Portugal, France. I'm not sure. It's sort of slowly going through Europe, Italy as well. And the Portuguese one I did last year on my own. So I did north to south, which is from Bragança all the way down to the Algarve. So this year I've teamed up with a husband-wife team who are running a tour company in the Algarve. They've got a fleet of bikes, CF Motos. And so we're basically doing the whole thing, all inclusive. You fly into Faro and ride north and go home from Porto, or you fly into Porto and you go south and you go home from Faro. And we've got a support vehicle, food, fuel, bikes, everything is in price. So you just turn up.
Can I just? You've just mentioned some very, very key things. Now I'm taking my wife to Portugal because we can fly from Teesside Airport direct to Faro.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is uncanny.
Okay.
This is not prescripted. This is uncanny, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
Okay.
I mean, when I'm there, I'm going to be laid around the pool, clearly. But no, that sounds good.
Well, you go lazing around the pool. We'll go riding bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that sounds. Do you know we're going to have to get some more gear? But we went down to Sports Bike Shop at the weekend. We were looking at all the kind of gear that we're going to have to start buying other than road gear.
Can I ask that question? I mean, because we were looking at gear for off-road riding at the weekend, and you can spend huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
But as somebody that may have a limited budget, it's like, really, what sort of brands could we look at? Where we could maybe get something that's of good value that can be used, certainly at an entry level.
I don't have to take an extension on my mortgage.
Where certainly my wife won't be too upset with me. Is there anything you could recommend? Any brands or that you would recommend?
Well, personally, and that I have to, say big thanks to Knox, because they've given us a lot of stuff to go away on this big trip. And I thought Knox is a street riding gear, but actually they are doing an awful lot of racing and off-roading that I didn't know about at all. So their kit is absolutely brilliant. The reason I like it is there's a body shell perforated sort of armored shirt that you then layer on with warmer stuff for days that are cold. But the shirt itself, it's very lightweight, and you just have that in the summer. Now I know Adventure Spec and Klim and all that are doing a similar idea, but I think Knox in terms of budget is a lot more friendly. Obviously, being a female, it's really difficult to find gear that fits properly. So I love them even more because that is been designed with some thought for a lady's figure. So, trousers, anything that, so I have a pair of leggings with armor on hips and coccyx and thighs, but I take out the knee pads and I put stronger knee protectors. So, the ones that you sort of strap around externally. And then I just have a pair of trousers that go in boots. I think the ones I have are Klim, but they were bought on a sale for a big discount. Otherwise, that would not be the brand I would be buying. But that everything else, Knox gloves as well. I was very impressed with. I've not, when I started going off road, I bought Alpine Stars body armor, which is just a thin sort of mesh with lots of armor. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for a lady with big chest. It was just silly. So I ditched that. I also looked like one of those action men figures, walking around like that. And then just thin shirts over and things like that. But I think having sturdy armor underneath, whatever way and whatever suits you, is the most important thing. What you put over doesn't really matter so much then, because the thing is, it will get ripped by brambles. It will get torn when you have an off. It will get muddy and dirty. So you want something that you can chuck in a washing machine very easy.
That sounds good.
Boots are super important, that they're really sturdy, because obviously they'll protect your feet and your ankle. If a 200-kilo bike falls on your knee, though, unfortunately, there's probably not much you can do about that. You might end up like me, but
Maja, what helmets do you use?
I have LS2 helmets. Again, super budget friendly. So you smash it. It's not, you don't cry too much about it. You buy a new one, it's okay. I do have a shoe base as well for road riding, one of the flip-faced ones.
C5. Is it a C5?
No, I think it's it's E1. I think I've a few years I've had it now. But I prefer LS2. They just fit my face better, my head. I mean, they are so individual to your shape of your head. You need to just try a few and see what works best.
We've actually got a lady called Linda Jean Belvedere coming on the show, who's actually created a brand. I don't know if you know.
Is she from Switzerland?
She might be. She's coming on the show, actually. She's going to talk about her clothing brand that she's designed for women.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting, actually, when you look at the challenges of trying to find some kit that not only fit but look good as well, because I don't think the manufacturers for years have really thought about, and now we've got a surge in female motorcycle kind of market, which is fantastic to see. And we've had some people on recently as well that are doing that as well. I think she's going to be quite interesting to find out, well, what type of clothing is she doing, whereas Knox, obviously, Knox are based in Cumbria, I'm sure, aren't they? They are.
Cockermouth,
so that'll be quite interesting. Just for anybody who's watching the show that wants to have a look at what tours you're doing, is there a website that you've got, Maja?
Yeah, so it's very simple. It's majasmotorcycleadventures.co.uk.
Fantastic.
That started as a blog when I started riding, so I was just sort of using it to share my stories and my experiences. And then when I started a business, I thought, well, I've got a domain, I'll just keep using it, and it's stuck. So it's Maja's Motorcycle Adventures, and Maja is spelled Maja. But if you follow me on Instagram, it's biker_Maja, again Maja, and then the links are there as well. So.
Yeah. We'll drop it in the write up anyway, in terms of make sure we get people there, because I think we're going to be queuing up to come. We're going to be very busy, and hopefully we might have something we can take with us as well to maybe use at that point, which we'll talk about in the months to come. But we've been talking about preparing ourselves for going off road, and there's lots of. There's like places you can go. I mean, obviously BMW do one and Triumph do one, and there's other. Is there any the off-road schools?
Yamaha,
Honda,
Sweet Lamb, Ducati. That's mid Wales.
Yeah,
they're all in Wales. Most of them are in Wales, Maja, aren't they?
Well, of course, it's the best place in the world, isn't it?
100%.
These two are going to get on far too well.
I just can't remember the number of that road.
The A483, yeah, that made me laugh. I think the truth is that Wales, so it's north, mid, and south, right? Because Mother Half gets really upset when people just go, "We're going to Wales." Like, yeah, but where? It's a big country, right?
Yeah.
And when I do tour of Wales, it's interesting because in North Wales you got beautiful tarmac, nice sweeping roads, fast roads. Yeah, you get to mid Wales and you go down goat tracks, but you are in the middle of nowhere. There is nobody there but sheep. It's so peaceful. It's so beautiful. And then you come to South Wales and it's the valleys and 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. And, you got the Brecon Beacons, but they're super busy. But like Snowdonia, super busy too. But you can experience the difference of the country within the 3 days. And you can just see, something shifted. We're not North Wales anymore. It's now, and so it's really interesting. And in terms of riding, I think you have the best of everything in a smallish place. But the off-roading, I think, is probably one of the most challenging ones in Wales.
Yeah. I think we managed to do pretty much all of Wales in one day. I'm sure that we slept pretty well that night. But we
north and south,
we absolutely love it.
Fire Aberystwyth.
Yeah.
Aberystwyth,
and ice cream.
Yeah. Through McCann Cliff up the Mac Loop.
The Mac Loop. I mean, we love it. We love it. And we were hoping to come back this year, but we've got a couple of things on.
We're a bit busy.
Yeah.
But I think
well, we're going to Portugal, aren't we? I'm hoping.
You're going to, of course, in September. Absolutely. I hope you do.
We're going to do that. We're also going to Andalusia at some point, probably end of April, to do some testing and some filming.
Oh, exciting.
Which is why I've been asking the question about gear, because I think we're going to be hiring bikes, and I think Robbie Wallace, who was on the show recently, might be showing us how to ride sand, but we'll just be there going, you go and do what you do.
So I think Robbie's on. I think that's this week's podcast.
Yeah, Robbie's podcast airs this Thursday. He came in the studio and talked about. He's a British Dakar finisher in the
this year's Dakar.
And we just sat and we didn't really say much because we were just like, you did what?
First Brit home in the Dakar this year.
Amazing. Yeah.
On his KTM 450.
Yeah, so he's been giving us some sort of advice to the point where we said, what are you doing the end of April? Could you come with us to Andalus? Yeah.
Come and do this for the camera.
Well, just to kind of show us what we need to be doing. But
Teach you, yeah.
Maja,
Brilliant.
so when you're on tours, what content do you do? Obviously, you record your routes, but obviously, do you just do like shorts, or do you do long videos on YouTube and type of things?
I do shorts and I do photos. Photo photography is more my thing, so I do lots of pictures
through Insta. Then, yeah.
Yeah, I will get some videos, but it's mostly for shorts, and then I'll share it. To take my drone with me. I'm not that great at driving it or flying it, but I might. The guys just want to see themselves going down the road, so I can manage to I can capture that and then share it with the group, and that's a nice little extra. But apart from that, I try and keep that to minimum, so it's not a distraction, because it can become just too much and takes over.
What drone, Maja, do you have?
I'm
a drone pilot, so I have a lot of drones.
I heard that before. I know. I thought, should I mention it? Should I not? No. It's a DJI 4 Mini Pro, I think.
Yeah. So if you take me on a tour, I'll give you some flying lessons.
Deal. Absolutely. I'd love to learn that.
He's in the RAF.
Not that type of planes.
No, I don't fly planes.
That would be brilliant. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, if you take me on a tour, I'll show you how to fall off a bike ungracefully.
I think I've perfected it now, haven't I?
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. Are you gonna ask the question?
Yeah, Maja, we always ask at the end of the pod, we ask a series of questions, and the first question: if money was no object, what bike would you buy?
Oh, all the bikes in the world, of course.
That's just
the thing is, I know it's greedy, but I would probably go and build a little collection of like the firsts. Like the old-fashioned, the original bikes or something like that. Yeah. If money was no object, I would have a massive garage with a tiny house attached to it and just have beautiful old cars and old bikes in there. Now, it's just something about them, the way they were built, the elegance of them, how they make you feel when you see them. I find it a lot more attractive than the modern one, which are starting to look very samey, just like the cars are. But there isn't, but I'd probably buy my Ducati back. I've sold my Super Sport now, so I would probably buy that back just because it's Bella. It's that one bike. Apart from that, it's difficult to say. I don't have the dream bike in my head. It's just any bike that will take me on an adventure.
There's a lovely museum down in Hampshire called Sammy Miller. So Sammy Miller was obviously a famous racer, and he's got a museum down in Hampshire, which, if you've never ever been, is fabulous to go to because it's got everything in there. From enduro bikes and off-road bike, everything, racing bikes, Nortons. They're very, very old. It's just great to wander around. And you pay once, and you can go back as many times as you like for the rest of the next year. So it's a So Sammy Miller's is absolutely fabulous if you get a chance to go.
I must do that. I must make a trip there then.
We could do a tour.
We could do a tour. Do it.
Who is your motorcycling hero?
Oh well. I will say Sue Hollis. Sue Hollis is an Australian lady who was a racer on a Ducati. And I came across her. I can't remember why, but I read a book she wrote called Riding Raw. Now, if you're going to put this in your Google search, I can't be responsible for what comes up. So make sure that you use her name at the same time. and reading her book, it just is. Look, I may have done this myself. I know what I'm talking about. When you read motorcycling books and traveling books, and that one just really inspired me. There's something about it that just grabbed me. And I was fortunate enough to get to interview her for Motorcycle Sport and Leisure. I had a column in there. Well, I had an article for about a year. It was titled When Maja Met, and then a lady rider. And I managed to interview her, which was really incredible. And then I got to meet her face to face as well when I was in Australia. So she's, full of energy, this tiny, petite lady, bursting with energy, biker, businesswoman, mother, adventurer, just all the things that I aspire to, I guess, in this feisty lady. And meeting her was just incredible. And her husband helped me plan the route when I was doing Australia tour on my own and some gravel roads. And I would say go and read a book, and hopefully you like it as much as I do.
Yeah, I think it's something we need to educate ourselves with, gentlemen, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a lovely thing to hear. Favorite place to ride your bike?
Please say Wales.
Wales. Okay, so I've been living in North Wales for 23 years. And on a sunny day, it's like nowhere else. It's so beautiful. And on a rainy day, it's like nowhere else, because it's dramatic and it's got just different feel about it. And every time I go out, I go, why do I want to ride anywhere else? This is incredible. But then, of course, the world is big, and there are so many more incredible places. And my current or latest favorite is Portugal. I mean, I'm spending more time there. It's stunning. It's kind of like Wild West in Europe. You can still go down any trail you see. You still come across miles and miles of nothingness, no traffic, and where there are tarmac roads, they tend to be absolutely brilliant. So it's getting more and more popular. I know it's the Algarve famous, and golfers go there, but for biking, it's still a lot to explore. But I love it. The Douro Valley, of course, following the river and the wineries and everything else is like, it's just something else. Absolutely love it.
When was that tour again? September?
Yes, it is.
And a final question for me. So you've just got yourself back from doing a tour, and you were saying you like to spend a couple of days just like relaxing and doing nothing. But you find yourself, you've got in a few extra pounds in your pocket, and you think, I'm going to go and buy something. So in a motorcycle, would you go and buy a helmet? Would you go and buy boots, gloves? Is there something else you would buy? What would you go and spend them few extra pounds on?
I do love a new helmet day. I think it's just
I
don't know.
Helmet.
I just the freshness of it. The visor isn't scratched. The inside smells nice and lovely because you haven't sweated in it yet. And that's on top. But then next one, probably a pair of boots. Yeah.
And they can turn out quite expensive, can't they? When
let's not go down there.
We won't go down that route.
Yeah.
Spend a few quid at the weekend, put it that way. And we're back tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're back tomorrow.
I just think when you put a new helmet on, it's just I just think it's the most wonderful feeling.
I did that Saturday.
Yes.
Oh, it was amazing.
It is, isn't it?
It's just that whole new adventure. And especially if it's a different brand. So if you're brand loyal with certain brands and you put something different on, and especially if you're in that position where you can maybe go up maybe a few additional pounds to a different, like a premium or something like that, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Just before you let you go, and it's been fantastic to have on the show, Maja, and I'm so pleased we finally had a conversation. It's always been stuff off the internet, and it's a bit weird. But just some promotion and plugs, it's shameless plugs. Yeah, so anything you'd like us to highlight?
Well, obviously my website and my tours, so I would be very grateful for that.
You'll be able to see in the description, because we're definitely going to support that.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Upcoming projects?
Projects as such, the New Zealand tour in January is kind of one that I'm wanting to do, but that's for myself. It's not going to be supported. There's not going to be obviously I'll probably share it as I always do, but it's a personal thing. Any major projects at the moment, with obviously the tours that I'm running, I am getting more and more inquiries on public speaking, so that is something that I'd love to develop further. I think what I have to share is not all just about motorcycles. As a businesswoman, as a business owner, I've been through a lot. I have a lot of experience, and linking that with the mindset, the travel, the motorcycling world as well, because to people that don't ride motorcycles, they don't understand it. What edge we have and what it takes to be a biker.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the areas that I'm sort of developing, and being able to speak at the ABR is incredible. I've got a couple of others engagements coming up, and I'd like to develop that too.
And finally, sponsors you'd like to mention. Sorry if I cut across you. Was there something else?
No, it's okay. Well, so Honda have been incredibly good to me. They sourced a Africa Twin for me to ride in Australia for 2 weeks. So that saved me a lot of money having to hire it. Then the one that I have, and obviously the CRFs that we used last summer, they were sponsored by Honda, which we were super grateful for. LS2 is an incredible brand that's really super supportive, and I fell over. They were like, "Oh, do you need a new helmet?" We've seen what happened, and it's scratched and things like that. I've got obviously Knox. They've again have kitted us out, and I'm not going to mention other brands. It's happened in the past, and it was terrible because I didn't like it and I had to wear things. But this one is genuinely something I have happily spent money on as well, for my friends. Krieger have been again incredibly supportive with all the kit, so the saddle bags, and for the CRFs, and also for my KTM. And I've used Krieger before. When I started riding, that was the brand I went to, so I have spent a lot of money with them before. They supported me, and I have got, I think, a bag that's 10 years old and is still absolutely bulletproof. It's quality. And we mentioned Twin Peg, so again, the underrated sort of unknown piece of kit. If you go off road, I think it's an absolute winner. That's it.
I mean, unless anybody else has got any questions, I mean, on behalf of obviously the guys here, thank you, Maja Kenney, for coming on the show and talking us through your journey, which is, I mean, it's great to speak and hear you talk about your journey. I've only ever seen it documented online, but it's been a fantastic privilege, I think, for us having you on the show tonight. Give it up to Maja Kenney, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.